One of the few who did know was his sister-in-law, Hamda Jabril, who at the time lived in Edmonton.
He said, I'm going to come up before I go to university. I want to work a little bit, and after I work, I'm going to probably go back home, you know, give Mom some money and go back to school.
But his timing couldn't have been worse. By that fall, the boom in Fort Mac was starting to bust. Jobs were scarce, especially, it seemed, if you were young and Somali.
When you come here, is all doors locked. You have to, for 3 to 4 months, you're going to be hunting for jobs, resumes, everything. But most of the time, every door is shut down.
"23-year-old Mahmoud Farah beat Abdi Nasser to Fort McMurray by a couple of years, but it still took him a long time to find even this job. Third cook isn't a bad gig, but it's a long way from the computer programming career he'd gone to college for.
I didn't know that was going to be the case, but the reason is there's always that stereotype that exists.
What do you mean, the stereotype?
Stereotype is if I call for a job, just because I don't have an accent, the woman will be like, okay, yes, the opportunity is still open, come. But when they see me, it's a totally different story. They'll tell me the job is filled.
For the kids from Toronto, the reception was always better here at Halima Hassan's kitchen. For years, she's been den mother to Fort McMurray's growing Somali population, providing free food and a bed while they look for work. Her daughter, Shukri, remembers the day Abdi Nasser walked in.
He was very polite, very respectful to his elders and everything.
And by all accounts, doing well. He always had money. Did Abdi Nasser pay for his food?
Yes, he did. He always did. He actually gave her a really good tip. he was a really good tipper.
But late in January, something happened. It was an RCMP raid on this apartment. Police found cash and cocaine. Among the 4 men they arrested and charged with trafficking was Abdi Nasser Diri. Once again, sister-in-law Hamda was one of the few he told.
That was pretty shocking. And basically, he just said I was there at the wrong place at the wrong time.
The wrong place at the wrong time. That was his story. But he begged Hamda not to tell the rest of the family, even after he was out on bail. Back here in Toronto, his parents never learned of the drug charges, which is probably a good thing, because by then they had another problem on their hands. Iman, Abdi Nasser's older sister, was missing.
It was as if she just fell off the face of the earth. No one could find her. Pleas on her Facebook page to get in touch all went unanswered.
We didn't know what to think. Like, she's disappeared. We don't know where she is. We started calling doctors, hospitals. Like, it was to a point where maybe something tragic happened.
The last her family knew, Iman was also talking of going west to Edmonton. When she didn't show up there, police picked up the search. But one place police would never even think of looking was where Iman actually was, thousands of kilometers away in Jamaica. Unbeknownst to everyone, she and her friend Hoda had been offered an all-expenses-paid trip. The 2 girls from Jamestown jumped at it. And Jamaica is where we found them this summer.
I just want to go. I want to see how it feels to go on a plane.
You'd never been on a plane before?
For 21 years I lived in Canada, I never traveled.
It all happened quickly, they say. A friend approached them out of the blue with 2 tickets and a promise to pick up the tab.
And then we talked to the guy. We're like, are you serious that you would pay for our stuff? Give us everything that we want and bring us home safe? And he said yes.
He even arranged Iman's passport. And in early February, the 2 arrived in Montego Bay. Neither had told their parents.
I know for a fact my mom would say no to me. To Jamaica, what are you going to go do there? That's what everyone's going to think. You're a Somali girl in Jamaica? What? That's exactly what they're going to think.
Like their brothers, young Somali-Canadian women are also caught between two worlds. Canadian by birth with all the freedoms that implies, and yet still expected to abide by traditional values.
Iman did not get along with her mom and all of that. Me, I wasn't getting along with my mom. I felt like my family was just always looking down at me. So I moved out and I lived on my own, trying to do something productive with my life.
But that is what they now argue made them vulnerable to a friend with a plan.
So some guy comes along and offers you a free trip?
Some guy comes along and offers us a big trip.
Are you really that naive to think that free trips just happen like that without...
Well, from a friend, I wouldn't think it's naive. He was a really good friend of ours.
But right from the beginning, things started to go wrong. The Montego Bay resort they'd been promised was replaced by a car trip to Kingston and bunking in with the Toronto man's family. They stuck it out for a week, but then on the drive back to the airport, there was a pit stop. A package appeared.
He's like, it's just fish. I just want you guys to take fish. It's nothing big.
Who were you supposed to take the fish to?
Back to Canada, to the guy.
To the guy who'd sent you?
The guy that sent us here.
The next thing they knew, there were new suitcases, and the packages of fish were hidden amongst their clothes.
We were wondering what the hell's going on, but it smelled like fish. So we're like, okay, this is just fish. Let's just go home.
It wasn't going to be that easy. At the airport, there were police and sniffer dogs, and they smelled something else.
And they're like, come, let's go to the back and check it out. And we're like, okay, we just have fish, you know? And we're like, okay, we went to the back, got the bags, he opened it up, then he cut it open. You could see the fish. He cut open the fish, and he's seen a brick. He cut inside the ceramic wrap, and he pulled out some green stuff. And he said, look, what is this? And I looked at him, and all I can remember is I felt like I was going to have a heart attack or I was going to faint. I had to leave.
But for Iman and Hoda, there would be no leaving. According to Jamaican police, those fish contained nearly 20 kilos of marijuana.
And we just started crying and crying and crying, and one of the officers couldn't do nothing about it. He was just like, you know what, girls? I think the best thing for you guys to do is just keep quiet and just relax. Even if you gotta call your parents, call your parents. We're like, nope, no parents.
For 2 long months, they sat in jail here. The Toronto man who sent them to Jamaica did hire them a lawyer who made it clear to them in no uncertain terms they were not to talk. And so they didn't, not to police, and they decided not even to their families. Back in Toronto, it seemed they'd simply disappeared.
And that's the way they wanted it. At least in Montego Bay's notorious Shreveport jail, they were safe. From the Toronto man they now admit they knew sold drugs, and from his Jamaican accomplices.
Could you identify these people if you had to,
them?
if you saw them?
If I saw them, yeah, I could. But I'd be afraid too, though. I would be afraid too. Only because my family's life could be at risk back home, and my life could be at risk down here because I don't have anybody down here.
After 8 weeks, their resolve finally broke. Iman was able to quietly answer one of those Facebook pleas her sister had been posting. 2 weeks later, her father was on a plane.
I would never in a million years think my dad would come to Jamaica and see me. When he came to see me, I just started crying. I couldn't hold my tears. Then he started crying, and that was the first time I seen my dad cry. And that's when I realized, okay, my dad's gonna slowly come in my life now.
And she said, my dad, I make mistake. I did a very bad mistake, and take me please out. I said, if I can do that. But we will see what we can do.
Beyond posting bail and hiring a new lawyer, there wasn't much he could do. Until their trial, Iman and Hoda would have to stay in Montego Bay alone. He returned to Toronto. That night, the phone rang. There'd been a shooting.
Abdel Nasser is dead. I said, what? Abdel Nasser is dead. Where? In Alberta. No.
When we come back, Alberta's body count rises.